This is Pat Tormey. I'm going to show you a little bit about Azure virtual machines. The idea here is to show you that you've got a couple things you can do in Azure without learning all about Azure. You can just find something that you really could use and jump right in. So I'm here at my Azure homepage, and I have all items ticked off, but I'm going to drop down to virtual machines. Now what happens here is I happen to have an Azure virtual machine up and running, but we're going to just create a new one. I'm going to tell it what I'd like to do is add new. And then you have the option to create from the gallery, or just do a quick create. Gallery is pretty good because what they're going to do is spin up a copy of, for example, Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center. And look at all the choices you have to pick from. Notice you even have Oracle in there. Here's an interesting one. Visual Studio Professional 14, Community Technology Preview 1. And there's Ubuntu. Okay, so see, you can actually just spin up almost anything you need. Let's drop back, create a vanilla one. Quick create. I'm going to call it Pat's VM. If you look here, it tells me that it's going to have a that little check mark tells me that that's an OK name, and that just means that there's nothing in there with a cloudapp.net extension also called Pat's VM, so we get a unique identifier. Here's several images I might want to use from, and I'll just leave that one. I can decide what memory, what kind of core I want. So I have the basic shared. I have one core. I have 16 cores and 112 gigabytes of memory. That might cost you a couple of bucks. So let's just keep the default of one core and 175 gigabyte of RAM. The username here, Pat's VM. I could have made it admin. And I'm not telling you what the password is. Now, I don't need it in East Asia. It'd be a little more convenient for me, closer to me, if it happened to be East US. So I'll say, OK, create the virtual machine. And now we wait while it spins up a copy. OK, that took a little while to complete, but as you can see, I get a little note here saying it's done, and it was certainly faster than me building one by hand. OK, so let's just dismiss the completed stuff. Alright, now that I have this Pat's VM, what am I going to do with it? Well, here's a little dashboard for you. This seems very consistent with everything having a dashboard, everything having a way to monitor what's going on. That says the DNS name of where it is. Shows me the configuration for cores. Go back over here and monitor throughput and activities and anything else you want to. As a result of it just being spun up, there's not much going on. This is where I find your endpoints. You notice it's PowerShell and remote desktop. There's where you configure it. Now go back to the dashboard for a minute. The next most likely thing you want to do is log into your brand new machine. So I'm going to come down here and say I'd like to connect to it. It says the portal is receiving an RDP file, and it wants to know, do I want to open it? So I will save it. Log in using other credentials. Tell it to remember my credentials. And log in. It warns me about certificates. It always does. Don't bother me again. It's Microsoft. What do I care? Let me just resize this so you can see it a little better. A brand new Windows server. Anyway, that's how you get to the devices. Once you set up your virtual machine, I'm going to tell it to disconnect from that one just quickly and run over and show you one I've already configured that I use almost every day. Now in this case I have a virtual machine where I'm actually keeping a copy of Visual Studio on it. Now the thing to remember about the virtual machines is that except for the operating system, which Microsoft supports, everything on it is yours, your license, and up to you to maintain and keep legitimate. So when you set up a virtual machine, what you'll do is you'll put your own copy of Visual Studio on it. You can put on SQL Express, whatever it is you normally use for your development environment or whatever you need for your virtual machine to do, including IIS and almost anything else. So this is Pat Tormey, and what you have here and standing in front of you is a quick and easy way to get virtual machines up and running using Azure Virtual Machines.